Checkland, and I'm the one with the English accent.
All right, so we're sharing a microphone, so on your screen it will look like it's all coming from me. We tend to work together quite a lot, and what I do is try and take the credit for most of Iain's work. So we're gonna pop straight into the presentation now. It's very simple today. We've got a PDF on the left-hand side that we're going to go through. Every now and then we'll break out for some live screen demonstrations. I hope they work. You know, there's always a bit of a question about bandwidth for those. And please ask any questions as we go through the chat on the right hand side. Iain's got his fingers on the keyboard, so he's going to take care of the back channel, but we'll both chip in with the presentation. Okay. You ready to go, mate?
Yeah.
All right. So we work for the ESF. ESF is a foundation of secondaries, primaries and kindergartens in Hong Kong. You want to go to the next page? All right, you can click a little bit on that screen there to find out more about us. Go on, keep going, you're doing well. And that's Hong Kong, that's where we work.
And so there are 21 schools down there in the metropolis, and 5 secondary, and 9 primary schools, 1 special needs, 4 kindies, and 2 through schools. That's about 17 teachers, and they're all running yearly based on Moodle, which is managed by a small team office, which is about 4 equivalents. I work on the project manager of the project, and then 2 programmers.
So I'm not part of that team. I'm out in one of the schools. I'm a vice principal at Sha Tin College. That's a secondary school. And my role there is to encourage effective use of learning technologies. So we've started using Moodle, and the Moodle that Iain here is involved in creating and maintaining. We've been using it for about 2 years now, and we're finding that the uptake at our school is quite good, and that there's a similar case across the other schools in ESF. So what we're going to talk about today are some of the plugins and some of the methods that we go about encouraging high use and high adoption within our classrooms. So just some background on what it's like here. Predominantly we're using Moodle in a one-to-one environment. So all of the secondaries have laptops, and most of our primaries have a high proportion of access to computers. So there's a lot of tablets, and there's a lot of computers that are used particularly in years 5 and 6, and used in pods between classrooms as they go down and get younger. Schools in our homes have very high bandwidth. In Hong Kong, we're very lucky. So it's not unusual for a student to have a gigabit connection into their home. Almost all of our students have high bandwidth access, and our schools have high bandwidth access too. So there are some things we can do and that we take for granted that are difficult in other areas of the world. We have a range of abilities of teachers. I think that's a universal constant. But our students are amazing. We have very eager learners. So we put the content there, and they eat it up.
Yeah, our hits to our servers are roughly 50-50 between school hours and non-school hours. We'll get those on our servers during weekends, but equally we'll get high usage during the day.
So you want to talk about some of the technical bits?
Yeah, we're running 1.9 still. I call it 1.9.ESF because we've done a lot of changes to the sort of the back end, the underpinning framework. So a lot of the stuff we're going to show you isn't that easy to give access to the rest of the world. But what we are doing at the moment, we're in the process of changing what we've done into Moodle 2, and in doing so, we are upgrading our work and making it more pure Moodle. We're trying much harder to make it more compatible with the rest of the world. We're UEFying it, so we're getting rid of our jQuery stuff that we've been using, and I've been learning UE. A bit of a pain, but I'm getting there. We're 4 years into a foundation-wide project, and we're not looking to move from Moodle anytime soon. I don't think. We've got high usage rates in the schools. Our process to moving to Moodle 2, at the moment we're sort of recoding our extensions, not recording them, we're recoding our extensions, and we're piloting in 2 schools next year, and then we'll look to move the whole foundation over the summer of 2013.
Okay. Our philosophy in the schools is that we see Moodle as absolutely central to effective learning tech integration. It's an unlimiting launch pad, and it's the glue for everything that we do. So certainly in my school and the people I work with in ESF, a lot of the professional development is centered around Moodle. So we drive traffic there, we try and get students engaged, try and use it to build community, and from there we launch into other tools. And one of the most useful tools we've found is the Google Apps. So there's a fair bit of integration of Google Apps into our Moodle setup, and you'll see that as we go through the demonstrations and things today. And combining that with a connection to our student-to-teacher database so that we can populate it with classes, it's made it quite useful. But we're finding that our efforts in PD are focused around Moodle and always connected to it, and that's really driving adoption. So it's going quite well for us at this stage. So just to give you an idea, here's a screenshot of a VLE from one of our primary schools. So we've given them some tools to allow them to quite simply change the lookout and presentation, the layout and presentation of their VLEs.
Yeah, and in Moodle 1.9 we added a menu system. Well, it's good to see that that's been incorporated into the Moodle 2 theme. Slight modifications to that in order to allow graphics. We want graphics on our menus, particularly for primary school students. We think the visual icons are very, very useful.
Replying there. Okay, so that's a primary one. This is one of our secondaries. This is KG5.
This is a system called Lionel, which has actually been running since about 2003. This is the one that I started before moving or persuading the ESF to move on to Moodle across the whole foundation. This is a very non-standard Moodle platform. We've got things like bulletin systems, reporting systems all built into this. Pretty much the best things that we do in Lionel are then transported into the central VLE that we use for the other 20 schools. You see the Google Apps integration in the top right hand corner. All of our Moodle instances are networked together, so you can see we have a connection to a student hub and for a teacher hub, so we can put PD resources onto a teacher hub. And it's possible to go from any of our servers onto the teacher hub and then hop to any of the other schools. So for instance, a maths teacher in Shartin College can jump to the hub and then jump out to another school and grab resources from there.
We think that sharing of VLEs is really important for raising the level of teaching across the whole foundation and sharing of best practice. So not only can you go and see a course, but that course is live and being used with students. Originally we thought if we had a central repository that would be okay, but those courses got out of date really quickly and it was a real effort to put them there. So being able to jump into people's live VLEs and borrow, be inspired, sort of see what they're doing is proving quite useful, and we think that the use of that will grow.
We know that teachers are very reluctant to publish resources. They always think, oh, I'll go back and perfect that later. So you find that the repositories very rarely get good materials in there. There are good materials out in the schools, but teachers are very modest and they don't like to publish their work. So the idea of going in and being able to take what's there, we think is
It was asked if the courses are visible to the public. No, they're not. But what we have done is made guest access to all our courses possible. So our default setting is that guests can access without a key. So any student can access any course, and the students can hop across.
No, they can't.
Can they not? I've had some students come into mine.
Have you? Okay, I'll check that.
It's okay. So they can access any course they like in the school. So a year 7 student can pop into year 12 physics and have a look at what they're doing if they want to.
So we, would you go back to the kindy?
Sure.
We're using the VLE in our kindergartens. In that example, we're sort of giving the parents the login rather than the students. And you can see here that the teachers in the kindergartens use it as a way of archiving individual student portfolios. I've read it out, the details of the student and the photo of the student on this on purpose. But you can see they've got things like their portrait work and some parent reports. And that can then be archived and sent to the parents at the end of the kindergarten period of time.
Okay. This is the VLE for my school. Each of the VLEs has a name, so ours is Smart. And you can see on the left-hand side there we're running a poll. This box here is an embedded Google presentation where the slides scoot across. You can't tell that because it's a screenshot. We've got the calendar there, and we've got a Twitter block on the right-hand side as well. So we're just trying to engage students in the site and add value to it so that it's a place that they go to. And teachers know now that this is a valuable piece of real estate. So when something's coming up that they want advertising, they'll either tweet it or they'll edit this Google presentation, this embedded Google presentation. And I've given all teachers editing rights to that, so they can just edit that and it pops up on that front page instantly. Anything else you want to say about that, Jekus? Okay. So one of the first things we're going to show you here is something called Quick Structure. Structure is a plugin developed by Iain, and it allows teachers to start with a blank page and start thinking immediately about the structure or the overall layout of their course. So the first thing it asks them for are the main headings. So you can see each of these topic blocks here. This is a Spanish course. Each of these topic blocks has a title. So the first thing they do is think about the structure for their course, which we think is quite good. Then they get a chance to specify some colors. It does something reasonably sensible with them, and they get to add images as well, as we think that those sorts of visual cues are really good for kids and teachers as well. It builds a menu up the top for no extra work, and when items in that menu are clicked, it shows only that topic block. So it helps us get around the scroll of death. These are some of the features here. We just wrote this down so we wouldn't forget. We think that it helps with rapid course creation. It builds a menu, helps out with the scroll of death. It's visual, and it makes teachers think about course design. Features in there are the color banding, the images, the menu, the folding, and then the sequencing of those parts of the course as well. Teachers who use this find that they've got a course developed within a few minutes, and it just sort of lowers the barrier to entry. So we've had, well, I've certainly had very good feedback on this from our teachers.
Yeah, I mean, I think across the schools now you'll see most of the visually structure their courses.
Here are some examples of courses that have been built using Quick Structure. This is.
Did you mention that the menu's at the top, so it automatically generates the menus? Did you mention that?
I think I did, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was typing.
So you can see in this one here, I've used the images, but I haven't included them in the menu at the top because I wanted that introduction box to be right at the top. So as one of the options in there, which we'll show you soon. And this is one of our professional development courses. So teachers will go in here, and we get a chance to model how a course should be used, and then use it for professional development for them. And you can see that we're asking them to set up e-portfolios and experiment with some of the Google integration. That goes on for about 5 weeks, that particular course there. I've gone for a single color across the whole lot just to identify it, give it so that people pop in there and they recognize it, and a bit of comedy on the right there. That's me. Here's another course. This is a mathematics course. It would be very long, but the menu means that kids can jump straight to the section they want by clicking at the top. They've used some images there. Our more advanced and techie users realize that if you use images with identical aspect ratios, you can get quite a tidy menu. And that's a reasonably standard one there. Here's a music course. So our music teacher hasn't used images across the top, but they've used color banding so that different sections have different colors, and the students get a second sort of visual cue or clue by looking at that color. Try a live demo?
Go on and try it.
All right. Hopefully this is going to work all right. So we'll see. I'm just going to go through the process of setting up a course using Quick Structure. So I'm just going to switch on sharing here and share the screen. Hopefully right now you can see my computer screen. So here's a blank course I've set up beforehand. Over here I'm just going to turn editing on, and I'm going to add a block in, and that block is the Quick Structure block. Drag it to the top because it's so useful. clicking edit here, I get taken to the quick structure page, and I can start adding in the information that I want. So I'm going to start with an introduction. I've got this all written down. I can't think and talk at the same time. I'm going to set up a pretend course for a year 7 design technology. So they can do something in Dropbox. These are some of the projects they do. Something with acrylite. You could carry on with this. And we're going to choose some colors as well. So I'll do that. You can play with these, and you'll notice that I've set the default for these. You could go down and set each one individually if you wanted to. I can choose how many columns I'm using and the width in there as well, and that's useful depending on how your Moodle is laid out. So you'll have some guidelines for your staff on what are the best settings there. And I am going to use some thumbnails, so I'll save those changes. It now asks me for images that I want to use in there, and I have images in a folder. Hopefully I can find it. Production there. Upload it and put it there for you almost instantly, which is quite good.
And it's resizing the image so that we find our teachers are very confused by image sizes and the number of bytes taken on the hard disk. We'll reshape and resize the image.
Into the course, that's enough. And you can see there that now we've got the framework for a course immediately created. Because I was clever enough to have images of the same aspect ratio, it looks quite tidy across the top here. I also chose titles that are quite short, so that you don't get them spread across 2 lines or 3 lines. And that course is now sort of laid out and ready for me to start adding content.
New item, how it folds up.
Okay, sure. So let's say I'm a student, I want to go to Teasmade. I can click anywhere in here and it shows me just that particular part. Dropbox.
Right, just slow down a bit, taking a bit of lag here.
Okay. And if I want to unfold them, I can click view all here and they unfold.
So I think it's similar to a plugin called Course Format, I think, or only that this plugin adds the images to it, which I think in schools gives a nice visual layout.
So you can also navigate left and right to go to previous and next courses. You can see on the right hand side here the quick structure block is added as well. So you have a second way that students can access those. Here, for instance, to go directly to the bow boxes. Checkers, you want to just take a minute to explain these two?
Yeah, you can switch the menu off, so if you prefer not to use the menu. And the folding to take place. It all takes place with JavaScript, which is post-injected onto the page. So if you have JavaScript turned off, you'll menu, because the menu is inserted by JavaScript after the page loads.
That's a very quick demo of that.
It's all gone very quiet on the.
Yeah. Should we check that everybody's with us? Now, is everybody happy with quick structure and ready for us to go on to the next one? Just raise your hand, I think, if you're ready for the next bit. Cool. Happens to have a lot of topics. So it was showing 10 there, but that's because that course had defaulted to 10 topic blocks.
Yeah.
If you go in and add more topic blocks, then more menu items appear.
But it will only create a section heading.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother to put a menu item in for an empty section.
Okay. All right. Well, at least 3 people are ready to go on to the next section. So thanks very much. People are kind of with us, which is great. The next plugin that Checkers has developed here is called Quick Content. Logically, that's the second thing that teachers will do once they've added their quick structure. Quick Content page is designed to be a single point of entry, and the whole idea of it is that teachers can rapidly add course content by going to the same place every time. It simplifies the options because we found that 99% of the time teachers don't change any of the options in there. You chose some pretty sensible defaults.
One of the key points here was that I trained a teacher, I won't name them, in uploading a file, and it took me about 45 minutes to get them trained to do that. And in Moodle 1.9, I think it's much better in Moodle 2 with the new file picker. It was clear that they needed a quicker way of getting simple content up. That was their entry ramp, really, a way of getting the resources they already had onto the course. And by improving the speed of that, we were able to encourage.
So there's a range of content that can be created. It creates standard Moodle objects. You can put, thanks. You can put your hands down now. I think that's what we do. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that was just to indicate they're ready to go on. Yeah. It sets sensible defaults, we reckon, and advanced users can go back and configure it because they're just standard Moodle.
Just that point from Frederick there about the new file picker and the drag and drop. The drag and drop is awesome, yeah, but it's only going to allow us to drag and drop files in. And one of the things we do with quick content is sort of have a single point of entry for all of the different items. A quick way of putting up forums, a quick way of putting up images, a quick way of putting up a Dropbox. And of course, you can't drag a forum onto the course. So we would probably put the drag and drop in, but we'd probably maintain quick content as well.
So we're just going to give you a very quick demo here. We're going to add these things here. So a text label, a file, forum, Dropbox, and try embedding a YouTube video. Just show that we go to pretty much the same place for each thing. Bear with me again as I share my screen. Here. And in our menu here, we have quick content. When we load up quick content, there's a menu at the top there which allows us to jump down the page. But these are the things that we can add in, all from the same place. If we want to add in a heading, we can do that. If we want to add in So let's say we're going to upload a file. We just browse in here, and it might be that PowerPoint presentation. Well, that's a bit large. It might be that PDF there. So I just open it and click that button, and it's done. So that's pretty straightforward, and it comes in with the name of
the idea is it's as simple as using an email attachment. Takes the file name, puts it into the course. That becomes a first-class Moodle object. So if Tim went in to configure that now, he'd get the same configuration options as if he'd done it the conventional way. So any expert users can then go in and change the force download or the open a new window. So it really is, it's just a quick way of getting content in. I use quick content even though I know how to use Moodle and how to configure all the various different options, but I just find a quick way of getting stuff in with the default options.
So if we want to add a web link, I can either click there or just scroll down to web link. And it's usually you cut and paste this, but what's the address for iMoot? I should get it right, shouldn't I? So you have your teachers going back to exactly the same place every time, and that we found reduces the confusion, and it just makes it more straightforward for them. Now, if we want to add we call them Dropboxes, but they're assignments. Here, and we give the name of the Dropbox, so we might actually call it Dropbox so the kids are ready for it, and we might say it's a warehouse assignment. And that's for a file Dropbox. There's an online text one as well, which with our teachers we call it the URL Dropbox. And we mostly use the URL Dropbox for them to submit Google Docs, Google presentations, Google websites, but it could be other things. It might be a wall wisher or a Word or something online that they've created as well. That's pretty straightforward there. Now to upload a YouTube video, checkers, in our current system I have to go to Quick Embed, but in the Moodle 2 version it's all combined in one, isn't it?
Yeah, we've combined Quick Content and Quick Embed.
Yeah. So you see me using a slightly different interface here, but in the version that you can use for Moodle 2 and upwards, it's all combined into one. So I would just put the URL in there. So really I probably should have, shouldn't I? But link there, so grab that one there, just copy that link. Choose your size, and embed, and that just appears. It doesn't get much easier than that. And this is all about lowering the barriers for our teachers so that they can start to create their courses really quickly, and then later they can get back and do. What else should I demo in here, checkers? That's enough?
Yeah.
Okay, I think you get the point. I could have added a forum, we had that on the list, but you can imagine. So you can imagine with the combination of quick structure and quick content how fast you could build out a course. And we have teachers sit down for CPD, or we go and help them, and within 10 or 15 minutes they've started to put together a course, and usually at that point they tell us to go away, that they can see how easy it is and they don't need our help anymore, and that's okay. That's quite nice. Next, what we're going to show you is shared Dropbox, and this is the next step for us. This is allowing students to have a lot more impact on the content of the course, and if it's used creatively, you can do some really neat stuff. So I've got the screenshot here is a PRS course, that's a religious studies course, and it's just showing you student developed websites. So these are Google sites. The teacher has set up a template and the students have used it. So from the outside they look pretty similar, but the content will be individual to each student. And as a teacher you can see the entire class on one page, and if I were to scroll down, if this weren't a screenshot, we could see any students that hadn't submitted. We'll give you some examples of this, and so you just get an idea of what it's about. The shared Dropbox is a block. It adds on top of the assignment module, and it allows teachers and students to view each other's work, provide peer assessment feedback, and allows you to visually see a whole lot of submitted assignments simultaneously. It's quite handy. So its extension is a normal assignment Dropbox. You see the whole class in one page. You can control the level of access, so you can allow students to not see, you can allow them to see, and you can allow them to add commenting and feedback. And some formats are automatically rendered and displayed on the screen. Some formats allow you to interact with them live as well, which is quite neat. So here's some examples. In this one here, we had students submit Google presentations. So each one of these Google presentations, you can see from the little menu items here that you could interact with it directly on the page. There's a little icon up here next to their name, which will make this full screen. And this is particularly handy for if you've got a class full of presentations. You don't have to have students logging in, logging out, searching for their presentations or doing anything. They can just use the single laptop that's connected to the projector. Each one comes up and gives a presentation if that's the way you want to do it. Here's something similar. This is with YouTube videos created by my class. And you can start to see some use of thumbs underneath. There's little thumbs up, which they're the equivalent of Facebook likes. The more thumbs you get, the more popular your video. So I use this with my students just to get an idea of which videos they like the most. They're all student produced. There were a couple of clear winners there, so Tina's and Enoch's were particularly good. And they realise that. The students are very honest with their feedback. Here's one used by a Chinese teacher at West Island School. The students used the webcams on their laptops to take photographs of their writing. You can see that there are some thumbs up here, and you can also see that there are some comments, and you'll see comments on the next screenshot. So images are rendered quite nicely. Here's one I used with one of my classes. This was for an intermediate step in the development of some publicity images. So this was their first draft, and at this point they were seeking feedback from other students in the class. So you can see that thumbs have been used, and you can see on the left-hand side here a range of comments. And if this is structured nicely, if your students know how to make constructive comments, they can get some pretty good feedback in here. So each student leaves some feedback, and the student who submitted this can come in and they can see all of the feedback in one column. The teacher can go in and put feedback as well. So what I did in my class was said I structured the feedback. You've got to go and look at each one. You've got to make one particular comment, and then after 10 minutes you're allowed to go back and have a look at all the feedback you received. Well, you could have heard a pin drop. They were so focused on the feedback they were receiving, and it really helped to inform the next stage of their development. So Nathan asked, are those images reduced? You're answering that one, are you? Yeah. Cool. So the comments and the thumbs allow for student interaction. It also allows for display of their work. So
just save me typing.
Yeah.
Nathan, if you can visit an individual student's work, you see there's a link, sort of an arrow icon after the name of the student. By pressing on any of those, you can sort of focus in on one student's work, and you'll get the sort of full version there. They're not resized thumbnails now.
And I'm just going to scroll up here. So these ones I showed you before.
Sorry, just to come back on Nathan again. Yeah, one of the downsides of shared Dropbox is the load time. I think one of the nice things about being in Hong Kong, you've got high bandwidth, and then we don't have to be concerned about that. But yeah, when you load that page, you are loading in effectively 20 or 30 pieces of media. Again, in our class sizes of 20 or 30, that's okay. If you're doing a shared Dropbox, say on an online course where you've got 200 participants, that's good. We haven't built pagination into that because we know our classes are pretty much bad.
The other useful part of this is that you have students generating content. So you can split a particular project into multiple parts. Each student produces one section, and then it's displayed here, and they can go back and access this content. So since I've started using shared Dropbox, I've changed the way I use my courses. It's had that much of an impact. Previously, I was developing a course and then I was reusing it each year and just modifying it slightly. But now I use a completely different course for each class, even if it's the same topic, because the students generate so much of the content, and they get a lot out of that process. So they're basically writing the online textbook as we go, and it's just up to me to sort of assign the tasks, split it up, and then have a cup of tea while they do all the work. It's quite good. This is another example in this one here. It's a Spanish class, and they've written Google Docs, so these are text documents, and displayed them all in the course. Here's one with some files that don't render and don't display, so you can see we've got a mixture of Word document. This one has cleverly supplied a JPEG, so it did pop up. With a file Dropbox, you can get all sorts of things, so it's not limited to any file format. Just noticing the number of thumbs on some of these. They love that.
I'm told in one primary school that the students are told that they must give the thumb to every piece of work in order to avoid favoritism. Kind of defeats the object, really, but.
Okay, so we're going to try a live demo of shared Dropbox. Just to give you an idea, I'm going to use a course of mine from a few years ago, just to demonstrate.
Was concentrating on the back channel there and typing in answers. Did you mention the fact that it's a very good way of conducting a plenary and collecting in resources rather than having all your presentations come in on thumbnails front, so that students can give their gallery page that you can then conduct that plenary session quite nicely.
Kind of, not as eloquently. Okay, so here is, I'll remove that so you can see that right from the start. So here's a course of mine. It's got some Dropboxes in it. You can see the icons here. So students have submitted some work. I only had these guys for a small amount of time, so it's not a well-developed course. But if I turn the editing on and add in the shared Dropbox block.
Just for clarity, when Tim says Dropbox, he means assignment.
Yeah, we're so used to calling them Dropboxes, and that just seems to work with our teachers and with our students too. It seems to fit in with the way they think. So it's a term that's become really familiar. So I've added the shared Dropbox. I'll just drag it to the top here. I'm going to pop into the configuration. Now in Moodle 2, this is slightly different, isn't it, Checkers?
Yeah, so you put the block in, but all the editing facilities get attached to the Dropboxes. The assignment's actually in the main body of the course.
So it's more intuitive. Some of our teachers, it just takes them a few minutes to make the connection between the Dropbox that's in the central part of the course here and the shared Dropbox. So, I mean, getting that idea that it's a layer on top of that just takes a minute. If I pop into the configuration, you'll see that it finds all of the assignments that that exist in this course, and it gives me some sharing options on the right hand side here. So if I drop this menu down, you can see the different options here. You can just talk through those.
Oh yes, so teacher sharing means that the teacher only has access to that gallery page, so it's useful for the plenary at the end of the lesson. But the students can't go in and look at each other's work themselves. They can only do it with the teacher sort of showing them each other's work. Student sharing means that the students can go in and look at each other's work as well, but doesn't allow any likes. Student with likes means that they can put the thumbs up on pieces of work. Private likes and comments. That means that when the students are looking at each other's work, they can post a comment, but they can't see the comments made by other students on the same piece of work. One of the teachers reported to me that they found that subsequent comments after the first often just reiterated what was in the first comment, because students didn't feel inclined to make their own comments based on they'd already done some hard work for them. So that sort of helped on that. And students with likes and comments means they can vote and drop comments. The new version has a few extra options. Anonymizing, difficult word for me. Anonymizing of the work, so that even the name doesn't go on the top of the work.
Okay, so let's turn it on for this one here. So the Fantasy mobile device, I think was a Google presentation, could have been a website. It's a few years ago. I'll find out in a minute. So I'm going to switch it on with student likes and comments, save those changes, and you'll see it's listed now up here in the top right hand corner. So students and teachers, because I've turned it on for students, can click that, select the class group that they're in. Did I pick one that nobody did for that year? Oh dear, that's not a very good demonstration, is it? It is a chance though to show that down below it lists those that didn't do any submissions for that. Not a very good demonstration, so I'll go and pick one that does exist. How to switch it on and set up the settings. It's very straightforward. So in here you can see these are some of the shared Dropboxes used with this particular class. You'll see the Google Docs loading in there. You can play a presentation. I'm just clicking the top left one here and work through it like that. If I click this icon here, it makes it go full screen. And as a student or teacher, if I want to give it a like, I can just click on this thumbnail here and it'll give it a thumb. And if I want to add a comment, I can just click on there, pops down below, and I can add a comment in there. What else do I need to show there?
That's about it. You can retract your vote by clicking on the. Do you know that?
No, can you?
Yeah.
Oh, so you can take your thumb away.
Yeah.
Right, and I've learned something this morning. That's quite a cool feature. And down below, any students that haven't submitted, so Brian, Ratbag, that lists those names there. There'll be a reason he didn't, sure.
Questions, and hopefully we may have the answers. The questions coming in earlier, are these plugins available for Moodle 2? Yeah, in fact, you just go down a little. Put the work we've been doing on GitHub. As far as I work, all three of those plugins working for 2.2. I would warn you though, we haven't used it in anger here. We're still using our 1.9 versions, so I wouldn't install it on your production servers. I'm more than happy to share that code with you, and if you want to take it away and test it and feedback to me any problems you have, then do. But I can't honestly say to you that they are perfect working versions for 2.2 at this particular point in time. They will get better as I get more feedback, and obviously when we get onto using Moodle 2.2 more seriously within the ESF, then those versions will improve. But they are available. Trying to share.
Cool. And I mean, getting feedback from people using them would be really helpful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I do believe there is somebody out there using Quick Structure. I had some feedback from them and tied a few little bugs. Quick content and shared Dropbox are not being widely used. I haven't really advertised them, so.
So feedback if somebody's using these things.
Just on GitHub, there's opportunity to put feedback in there or report bugs, and I'll check in there and get. Said that I do have 2 jobs already, so in mind it probably won't get fixed.
So if you have any questions, please type them into the chat. If we don't get any questions, we'll just assume that we did an awesome job of explaining this.
Best channel to feedback on the plugins. I think that's through the actual GitHub itself. There's, or if you back at the beginning of the presentation, there's an about me.
Have you got your Google Plus on there as well?
Not yet. I will.
Danielle was asked, are we planning to change 2.2 soon? For those of you who don't know, Danielle was a teacher at my school, Shouten College. Yeah, we are. The whole of ESF is looking to go in just over a year's time, but we're going to have a test server arriving in June, Danielle, so we can start to put some courses on there and get a head start on the rest of ESF, so we can try some things out, use some of the new features. So if you want to have a go at that, that would be fantastic. It'll be available from June. You could set up 1 or 2 of your classes on there and just try it out, see what you can do, see what the differences are, and help us sort of get that just right. So that'd be really helpful. Is shared Dropbox available to try?
Yep, it's on GitHub.
Yep.
The brave first. Nathan, what are you using at Australian International? Using 2? I'm not sure whether it will work on 2.0. I think it's libraries between 2.0 and 2.2. Doodle form libraries. But Nathan, give me a call if it's.
Joe Butler's still waiting for us to say something disparaging about him.
I didn't say we were going to do that. I just said he's checking.
How could we? Joe Butler's a super bloke.
You can go back to sleep now, Joe.
Yeah. We do know he's watching this presentation from bed. Is that right?
Yeah.
Having a lie-in on a Sunday.
I must say particular thanks to the 3 people who have joined us today that are not in Hong Kong.
Yeah, I don't know what the time is where they are, but it's hard, isn't it?
Or radio show.
Should we get some music going?
Questions?
On our session page, I'll just try sharing the screen again. session page in iMoot.
I tell you, it must be really tricky to monitor the back channel and give the presentation at the same time.
Yeah, if you weren't here, double. Let's see, Sunday morning. Yeah, so if you go to our page in the iMoot, you can access the presentation. So that's an embedded Google presentation. It fixes up a couple of the spelling mistakes you might have noticed in the PDF we used during that presentation. And you can either play it directly in there or go. If you're interested about the ESF where we work, there's a link to that down below. And this is a link to the GitHub.
Yeah, there's some details of
Okay.
the modifications I've done for version 2. There's some enhancements of.
Okay. Any other questions popped up?
Just one coming in.
All right. Thanks, Danielle. Appreciate that. That's interesting to know, Joe. I've got to say, having used these 3 enhancements, it makes such a difference for our teachers and the adoption rate. There are no longer excuses. People can't say to you, it's hard, it takes too long, or anything like that, because it's not. It's really straightforward now. So it's been a really big help for us to start spreading it, because once everybody's using a common platform, there are so many things that just take off in terms of professional development, sharing of best practice, conversations in the staff room. You don't hear people saying, "Oh, that Moodle is hard to use," because it's not. Okay.
Okay, can we sign off?
Yeah. Thanks very much for coming along, and see you again in the iMoot somewhere, I'm sure. So, Julian, do we have to stop recording? Anything like that? Yeah,
I think
we put him to sleep, did we?
He's learning about zombie-based learning in the other thread.
All right. So see you all again. Bye bye.
Sorry, I'm late here, Tim and Iain. I'm trying to monitor a couple of sessions and help next one set up. Before everybody disappears, I think sadly I've missed most of the people. Just wanted to obviously give you a thank you for your talk, and obviously also for putting that code up into GitHub. I'll be downloading that and testing it without anger either very shortly. So thank you again for your time. I know it's a Sunday. I know it's your personal time. Thank you very much for presenting, and hope you enjoy the rest of iMoot.
Cheers, Julian.
Thank you. Bye.